Well, good evening everyone and welcome to our webinar tonight. My name is Dr. David and we'll be talking about how our thoughts and emotions affect our health and vice versa. Before I continue, I first want to know if you're able to hear me, and I guess some people are still logging in, so I'm just going to give it a few seconds to make sure that those who are wanting to come in can come in and can see my video and can hear me. Okay, so we'll give you a few more seconds. If you can see me and if you're in, just let me know, okay, and I will progress. Okay, Sherry says video is good and the sound is good. Excellent. And she said I should smile too, so I'm smiling. All right, welcome again to our webinar tonight, and those of you who have been with us for a while, you probably have noticed that we're going through a sort of transitionary period. Hello Jenny and Guy. We're going through a sort of transitional period because first of all, this is tax time, so it's crunch time, and also you've seen we've been playing around with different kinds of equipment and different webinar tools. Unfortunately, the one we're using now does not have the option or the feature for you to call in, so it has to be online, and we apologize for that. So some give, some take, but we found out that the video route is the best, so we're just going to work with these as we go along and see how they work, or how this specific system works. I know we have people logging in from all over the world, and some people, they're actually waking up in the morning like 2 o'clock to listen. So we are honored and we are pleased to have you. I'm just going to give a quick overview of myself and what we do, what Sherry and I do with the webinars. I've worked in the Army. I've had a sort of very varied background. Worked in the Army for a while. I qualified as a doctor. I started working as a training to be a radiation oncologist, and as we progress, I'll explain that's how that became a defining moment in my life, working with cancer patients, and that helped to form my I wouldn't call it world view, but I would call it my health view, about health, about how the body functions, and what it takes to help people overcome their ailments, diseases, whatever you want to call it. But I'm even more interested even more interested in other things than just disease. I'm also interested in human function, human performance, how to make the most of our potential, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And so as I said, I've been around a few times. I play racquetball. I used to speak for a company. I used to travel around the country and speak to different groups about health and nutrition. And I used to try and slip in the spiritual and the mental as well, because I really began to see that health has to be approached from several different perspectives and not just one. And that's kind of the challenge we have with when we do what we do, because people, from what we've seen, people don't really understand why we have to do things from several different perspectives. And I'm going to explain this more and more as we go along. Well, this is the bottom. The last one down here is what we're dealing with. We do these webinars, and I want to read out this quote to you because I think it's a very, very interesting quote by Sedgwick. I don't know who that is. I haven't been able to find out who she is, but here's what she says. Oh, she said, "It is the opinion of those who best understand the physical system that if the physical laws were strictly observed from generation to generation, there would be an end to the frightful diseases that cut life short, and of the long list of maladies that make life a torment or a trial, and that this wonderful machine, the body, this goodly temple, would gradually decay, and men and women would at last die as if gently falling asleep." Now note, she said physical laws right there. Let me get my marker working well. So physical laws. She says physical laws right here. Well, our philosophy is that it's not just physical laws that need to be obeyed, but also spiritual and mental laws as well. And this really is our cornerstone quote. This is the foundation for everything that we do, and we want to help let people see this quote-unquote 360-degree view of health. And I have this example up here about bone density and bone health. Many people who are seniors and over 60 may have this issue, this concern. When you're talking about bone density, it would be a mistake, an absolute mistake, if all you did was just take a pill and hope that you don't break a bone in the future. Because bone density is, as a result, it's influenced by several different factors, and I've listed quite about 9 or 10 of them out over there. And you've got to, there really aren't no shortcuts to this. You've got to approach these things from several different perspectives. And what we're trying to do is make these perspectives clear and easy for you to understand, so that you can apply them in your daily lives. And all our webinars and our presentations are focused towards helping you see that. And we have 4 main categories that we approach when we are getting people to speak, or when we're speaking ourselves. We have people, we look for what their expertise is can fit into one of the 4. And of course, the most important is how our bodies were designed to work. Because when you understand how things work, it is you become more aware of what is important to make that body work. And that's the number 2 there, what our bodies need to work. And of course, that includes nutrition, but it also includes exercise, the environment, social support, the way you speak, what words you use. Believe it or not, that is a hugely important factor. I'm not sure if that's good English or not, but anyway, you get my picture. And of course, the threats to our health, those are ever increasing in this technological age we're in. And of course, when things begin to go wrong, you've got to understand, well, why do you have to wait until things go wrong? You've got to know how to prevent, right? And so even when if everything you've done isn't working, well, you've got to know how to deal with the healthcare system, what questions you need to ask your doctor, how to make good decisions about the kind of healthcare provider to go along with. Folks, there will be no phone available, and I know there are questions there as to will there be a call-in number. Unfortunately, this system does not allow for call-ins, phone call-ins, so it's all going to be online, unfortunately, and we apologize for that. All right, and I just showed the last slide. This is the input. Our focus is to help people see, is to teach people based on these 4 categories. But it is not just enough to have the information. The information is there for you to take action. And so we've gone a step further and shown you what areas, what categories of action that we feel you need to take. And I call them the 7 laws of life. And hopefully we shall go into these into a little bit more detail. I've already done two webinars on the 7 laws of life, and I believe that this congeals all the activities that we are responsible for into 7 clear, I wouldn't call them steps, but 7 clear categories that you can apply on a day-to-day basis. Everything from the words you speak to the people you associate with and the kind of work that you do. We're getting into our main presentation, and I know people are wondering, what is he doing? Well, let's talk about our thoughts. Okay, we're getting to our thoughts right away. All right, why this study? This is our outline, and there are a lot more points than this, and I apologize, but we're going to go into more than this. I hope you brought your blankets, because we're going to be here for a long time. I have a lot of slides to show you guys, and again, these slides are all free for members. I know we're putting, I'm shamelessly promoting the membership feature, but it's really a good feature. For a very low rate, you have access to a lot of different webinars and recordings. And Sherry and I are working on making it even much more valuable. You're going to have a lot more features than what you are presently enjoying at present. So if you are interested in having access to our archives, please give us a buzz. You'll see that just above my video, you can click on the banner above the video of me, and that takes you directly to our website, and you can see what tools we have. This is also available in the recording, by the way, and you can be a member anytime. There is no commitment and no contract. All right, back to our point for today. Why this study? how our thoughts and emotions affect our body, how our body influences our thoughts and emotions, the brain and neurodegenerative disorders. We're also going to be talking about the endocrine system. We're going to be talking about the immune system. We're going to be talking about how to control your thoughts and your emotions. That may be, in some people, that has a negative connotation, but really in the final analysis, control, we as human beings must have a sense of control. Many of the needless deaths, or in some cases sudden deaths, are as a result of people feeling they have absolutely no control over life and they just gave up, they expired. So control is very, very important. Do not look at it as a negative thing and something to avoid. It's very, very important that we understand the amount of control that we have over our lives. Alright, okay, first question. Why make a study of how our thoughts and emotions affect our health? I'm just going to skip that quote. Well, here's one that I think you might be interested in hearing. Anguish of mind has driven thousands to suicide. Anguish of body, none. Well, maybe a few. This proves that the health of the mind is of far more consequence to our happiness than the health of the body, although both are deserving of much more attention than either deserves or receives, and that is Colton. Now, in recent times, we've probably seen the movies like The Secret, What the Bleep Do We Know, and they've received various reviews. People kind of like, oh yeah, it's excessive hype. Some people really see the value in these things. Well, whatever your philosophy is or whatever your viewpoint is, the fact is that our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings exert a huge effect on our bodies, and research is beginning to catch up with it. And what we're going to show is that we're going to look at what the ancients have said about this, we're going to look at what philosophers have said, and we're going to look at how science is beginning to corroborate those sayings in the past. Buddha himself said, mind is everything, what you think you become. King Solomon says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now that's not the exact scripture, that's not the exact way it's quoted, but people have just kind of used it. Nevertheless, it's a true statement. What you think defines you as a person and defines your actions. Control your emotion or it will control you. The angry man will defeat himself in battle as well as in life. And here's the key point by William James. The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind. How do we do that? Why should we do that? Alright, here's what research is catching up with. Laughter increases decreases stress hormones and boosts your immune system. We're going to show that the immune system, which accounts for about a quarter of all the cells in your body, is more than just an army that attacks bugs and bad guys, but the immune system is an extremely intelligent, complex organism that learns, it responds, it's almost at a par with the brain and the nervous system. The immune system and the nervous system are the two systems that can remember and adapt to upcoming circumstances based on that memory. And what we're finding out is that things like anger, depression, anxiety, and grief can so shut down the immune system that even the identification, even the normal functions of the body, functions like repair, like when blood vessels are damaged, for instance, it's the immune system that identifies that damage. It's the immune system that alerts the bone or the marrow where new cells are created. It's the immune system that helps to orchestrate the repair. So when the immune system is compromised, you find that a lot of other things begin to go south. Not just you contracting a disease or a bug. There are so many things that have to do with the immune system, and I'm going to show you a picture that shows how your emotions and your thoughts all trickle down and affect not just the immune system but the endocrine system and the nervous system as well. And those three systems, as taken together account for the control and the orchestration of all the other 60 plus trillion, 160 trillion cells in the body. So the immune system is very important. And Bernie Siegel made a statement from research saying that grieving spouses have depressed immune systems for up to a year. And I have a very close friend who lost her husband about 10 years ago, and she during her time of grief, she mentioned that she had this, I think it was a herpes virus infection that really wreaked havoc on her back. It's a skin infection that really was really nasty, and that was triggered by her loss. All right, that's another quote over there. Again, we can't really go through everything because we can't just mention everything. But again, these slides and these pictures will be available for everyone who is a member and is interested in getting them. Alright, more information has been found through research and through studying people with quote-unquote psychosomatic disorders, hypochondriacs, the phantom limb experiences, people who have lost a limb and still have feelings in that limb. How about people who have had maybe a heart transplant? There's one case in specific that I remember, a 50-year-old woman who had a heart transplant of a 17-year-old boy who loved to swim. But he died, and so she had his heart, and the doctors had encouraged her to exercise. She just couldn't get it going. She didn't like running. She did not like weightlifting. She didn't like aerobics. She didn't like anything, and so she just couldn't get the exercise thing going. And finally, I guess she happened upon a swimming pool, and she decided to just get into the water, for instance. And as soon as she got into the water, it was like the proverbial fish to the water. She began to swim, and that took care of her exercise problems. And later on, she was able to. She realized it was because of the new heart she had, and they contacted the parents of the boy, and I guess the parents of the boy kind of like see her as their child as well because she has his heart. But there are several stories about that, and there's a book called The Heart Code. H-E-A-R-T. I don't pronounce my R's very well, so you have to excuse me on that. And so there are several research findings that are showing more and more that our thoughts and emotions are locked into the cells in our bodies, and so it would behoove us to understand, to ensure that it's the good emotions that are kept and the bad emotions are minimized. Again, we're going to show you how to do that. Deepak Chopra is one of the gurus today who have studied the effects of emotions on the body, and he, of course, mentions despair and hope and helplessness raise the risk of heart attacks and cancer, thereby shortening life. As a matter of fact, stress and all these things can be traced back to stress, whether we're talking about anger or depression or anxiety or grief. These all constitute stress, and people who have done research on stress have shown that prolonged stress can actually affect the DNA of our cells, and they can disrupt the function of the DNA of our cells. And we did 2 webinars entitled From Stress to Strength, parts 1 and part 2, and that's sort of highlighted those points. And so very, very important that that you understand that these emotions and these thoughts affect our health. I have some quotes from Proverbs here, which is my favorite book in the Bible. You see things like runaway emotions corrode the bones. Good news makes you feel fit as a fiddle. Let's see another one. Okay, here's another quote from the Psalms. Here's a quote that I always started my patients with, every single patient. And I worked, when back home, I worked in a city that was predominantly Muslim. And cancer patients would come in by the droves, and we would treat them. But it didn't matter what their religion was, because I was trying to help them. I wasn't trying to proselytize. I wasn't trying to convert them. I was trying to help them, and I knew that the only way they could they could overcome their disease. And you have to understand that most of our patients were terminal stages. I mean, people just don't have the enlightenment and the education that the developed country like the Western world has about things like cancer. And so we had pretty bad cases, and before I started my treatment with every single patient, I would read the scripture out to them and say, listen, a sound heart was the scripture in King James Version. It says a sound heart is the life of the flesh. The Amplified kind of like amplifies it, but a sound heart is the life of the flesh. And I would say, listen, we've got to get your heart, we've got to get your emotions strong, we've got to get your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts allied to work. We got to work together with them so that this treatment will work. Because what we know is that even with the best of treatments, the best of nutritional supplementation, the best of everything, if you don't deal with the inside of the person, if you don't deal with helping the person develop that quote-unquote will to win, that desire to stay on and live in this world, there's really nothing else you can. All those treatments, no matter how good they are, will not work as they should. Because it is when your emotions are positive, that's when your cells are more receptive to treatment. The cells of your body are more receptive to treatment, and that's when the cells of your body, including the immune system, will begin to rise up, so to speak, and attack the bad guys, be they cancer cells or bugs or viruses. The immune system needs your emotional support to stand against and destroy the bad guys. And so that's what I would do. I would always encourage my patients, and some of them that took heart to what I said did tremendously well. And I'm not just saying this to toot my horn. That's really what happened. There were people who lived much longer than they should have. I don't know how they're doing now, because I left the country a long time ago and I lost contact. But the key is helping people from the inside out. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries the bones. Remember the last scripture I showed here? It says, no, that's not that one, the other one. Right here it says, runaway emotions corrode the bones. What's this thing about bones? Well, here's the thing. Think about this. The immune system, and remember what we said about the immune system is so important for the total well-being of the body. And the immune system, along with other blood cells, the blood of course is the transport system of the body. The immune system and the blood cells are, for the most part, manufactured in the bones. When you were younger, they were in the long bones, but as you grew older, they were more in the flat bones, like the pelvis, the rib cage, and other parts of the body. But bottom line is that they are manufactured in the bones. It seems as if emotions can depress, bad emotions can depress the bones. They can depress the function and the production and manufacture of cells, of blood cells, of immune cells, and that has been confirmed in science. So I'm not just trying to quote scriptures to you at all. This has been confirmed in science. They have found out that people with chronic depression, they have found that they have much less bone density than the average person does, and that has been traced back to what is now known as the stress hormones, those corticosteroids, those steroid hormones like cortisol that are produced in over a long period of time with chronic stress, and that seems to depress bone function. And as a matter of fact, those stress hormones also act in the brain, and God knows where else they act. They act in several other places, but the brain again is very important because we're talking about thoughts. Continuous exposure of stress hormones in the brain affect parts that are extremely sensitive to the brain, including the hippocampus, and I'm going to show you a picture of the brain in a few minutes. But the hippocampus is responsible for long-term memory. It is also where stem cells, remember, stem cells are very important. We had Christian Drapeau come speak about, I love that name, Drapeau, But it came up when it spoke about stem cells and how the body can, and how they have found a technology that can accelerate the production of stem cells. But what I'm trying to say is that stress hormones depress certain parts of the brain that produce stem cells. And if your brain is unable to produce stem cells, well, that is bad news because your brain needs to continually recover. I mean, it's constantly being bombarded by all kinds of things, from free radicals to radiation to toxins and everything like that. And some of the brain cells are damaged. It is very important that the brain be able to recover. I mean, again, football players get a lot of damage. Stress, what I'm trying to say, folks, is that stress is not a good thing. And we're going to try and show you how to deal with stress in the right way. Here's what I mentioned to earlier, and it's basically a picture of what I referred to as the central governing system of the human body. Right at the very top there, the mind and the emotions. Okay, let me take that out of the way. Okay, picture here. Picture from the top downwards. This is the mind and the emotions really represent the most important factor when it comes to how your body functions. Again, research is proving that more and more. But your thoughts and your emotions are relayed down to the brain and the nervous system. And the hippocampus is that, I use that to, what's the word? To represent the nervous system, because the hippocampus, the hypothalamus coordinates all the activities of the glands and the pituitary and the autonomic nervous system to some extent as well. The nervous system in turn regulates the endocrine system, and I just mentioned stress hormones. Well, there are about 200 different hormones in the body. And all these hormones are again regulated by what happens in the brain, and of course the feedback that they get from the body as well. So there's a continuous, as you can see, the loop thing. There's a continuous feedback, but primarily the most important information comes from the top downwards. The immune system we mentioned, and of course the body cells. There's, like I said, a continuous feedback loop of that shows how the whole system, your body as a whole, is orchestrated. Again, if your immune system is out of whack, it's going to throw your endocrine system out of whack as well, and also your nervous system. So you just don't want to just focus on one thing. You've got to remember that the man is a very complex being, and you've got to approach things from several different perspectives. Here's a book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, and I would encourage everyone to read this book, because he's beginning to show, I mean, what he found out is that IQ, people say, make a big deal about IQ and intelligence, and yet that's just those just focus on your reading skills and your math skills. There are so many other aspects to intelligence, including the emotional intelligence, which they have found out plays a much greater role in health and happiness than just your IQ. And we're going to get to that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. I'm always interested in the elderly. Excuse me, I might get in trouble if I say elderly, but the older people, because first of all, I lived in a retirement home for 3 years, believe it, well, 3.5 years, believe it or not, and some of my closest friends are, I guess, in that age group. Very, very interested in helping seniors keep their quote-unquote their marbles together, and showing them what they can do to whether nutrition-wise or whether exercise-wise, or training their thoughts so that they can stay strong and stay healthy, and not succumb to so many of these neurodegenerative conditions that affect a growing number of people needlessly, I have to say. And a lot of that stems from bad decisions earlier on in life. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter how bad the decisions were, the great thing about the human body, the great thing about the mind and the human brain, is that wherever you start, just start. You're going to find out that there's so much plasticity and so much regenerative capacity in your body that if you begin right now to do the right things, and we're going to show you what those right things are. If you begin right now to do the right things, you will begin to see changes, and you'll be happy with the changes that can be made. We live in a day and age where technology, though in some cases it has produced some bad things like toxins, but in other cases technology has come up and began to produce some tremendous breakthroughs in nutrition, in body mind, in the body mind, and discoveries that can help you recover, help your parents recover, help you live even a better life in your latter years than you did in your earlier years. It really is possible, and research is beginning to show that more and more and more. And here's a man who has helped to champion that, and he, Dr. Sears, we are always so honored to have him on, and we're honored that he would honor our invitations. He's spoken for us 4 times. This is an extremely busy man, and he is an authority in the whole idea of anti-aging, inflammation, what goes on in the brain, and he is working with some of the top researchers in the world to help further our knowledge on brain science and how it functions. Why are we talking about the brain? Well, because simply your thoughts are produced by your brain. Yes, some people argue that, well, your thoughts are in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is all over the body. I can concede to a certain level, a certain degree, but really it is all centered in the brain. The brain is where those thoughts are come out from. We have found out that things from electromagnetic radiation, some sort of waves, some waves that people, magnetic waves, radiation, different things. They've experimented with those things on human beings, and they found that they can actually manipulate people's thoughts based on the physical influences they place on the brain. So the brain is really the repertoire of your thoughts. So a healthy brain, for the most parts, produces healthy thoughts. Are we going to just focus just on the physical, on the brain? Of course not. And we're going to again show you all these different parts, but it is not. I'm just trying to bring out the important part that the brain, by doing the right things to your brain, you can go a long way towards strengthening and making your brain more and more healthy. All right. How does this happen? Okay, we've mentioned a few things, but I want to go into it a little deeper, and I showed this picture already, so I'm going to skip on to the next picture. This is the brain. I know it's not a particularly good job, but this is the brain. This is the brain. It's interesting things about the brain, and we have notes on it. If you want it, you can email us, and we can get them to you. But the brain, interestingly enough, accounts for like 2% of your body weight, but it accounts for over 20% of the energy. It takes up 20% of the calories that the body takes in, takes up 20% of the oxygen. I mean, it is a guzzler. The brain is high maintenance, if you know what I mean. So the brain has a lot of demands, and that's because there is so much. It is doing so many things at every point. And I did a whole presentation on the human brain, and also I think Dr. Owings did a wonderful presentation on nutrition and the brain. In this picture in front of you is a synapse, and that is the basic unit of the brain. For the brain to function, for thoughts to be transmitted from one part of the brain to the other, for the brain to function, like I said, there has to be a transfer of chemicals from the one nerve cell to the other nerve cell. Neurodegenerative conditions happen when either the nerve cells are not able to, and these are the nerve cells right here, the nerve cells are not able to produce the chemicals to be transferred across what is known as the synaptic cleft right here. This is what is known as a cleft. neurodegenerative conditions happen when either the nerve cells aren't able to produce the right substances, or the nerve cells are faulty, or there's a blockage here in the cleft, or the other cell is unable, the receiving cell is unable to receive the chemicals, or the body is not even getting enough of the raw materials to make those chemicals. And let me show you another picture. That's here's a more pictorial view, and you see this nerve cell. Each nerve cell is connected to about 20,000 to about 50,000 different other different cells, and you can see these are the synapses right here, and each responsible for the transfer of information. Everything that happens to you when you think, every activity that your body does or your brain does, has to depend on the transfer of information between these cells. And I want to show you this. Here's another picture here, and it shows that the brain is again the center of activity for the whole body. And what your brain does is like Grand Central Station. It receives impulses from outside the body, the five senses, other senses as well, but primarily the five senses. But it also receives impulses from within the body. We're talking about diseased cells or healthy cells. Each cell, each of your 60 trillion cells, is sending information to the brain about its moment-by-moment status. Most of that information comes through the immune system, because the immune system are like the handmaidens. They take information back and forth from the brain. And so all the brain is, again, like what I said, like Grand Central Station. It receives all that information, and then it responds by giving instructions both into the inside of the body, to the immune cells and the endocrine cells. It also it tells your arms what to do, or your eyes what to do, and all that. So it's responding continuously. So it's doing a lot of work. It's doing a lot of work. But here's the point I'm trying to make. Oops. Ooh. It's getting funny here. Here's the point I'm trying to make. Emotional stress. Let me go on to the next one. What are these things doing here? I guess I need to cancel that, right? Okay, can I cancel that? Excuse me, folks. Sherry, do you have any idea what I'm supposed to be doing here? Alright, auto clear. I mean, like delete. Okay, delete. This is alright. I'm just going to go on. Here's a quote from a book by Jerome Groopman. He wrote a book called The Anatomy of Hope. And here's what he says. He said, belief, expectation, and desire activate the brain circuits that cause the release of endorphins. You've probably heard that term before. And enkephalins, similar to endorphins. And it causes the inhibition of CCCK, which is responsible for pain sensation. CCCK, I think it's cholecystokinin. This amplifies, CCCK does, it amplifies pain sensations in the body. This is a man who is studying cancer patients. Let me just go back to this slide so you see what I'm talking about. No, that's not the one. I want to see another one. Okay, this is the one I want to see. I'm sorry about all this. I wish I could kneel out to delete this. It's what you get. It's what you get when you play with things too much. Alright. Okay. Well, whatever. Impulses within the body. And what this man did was he studied cancer patients, and he found out, and what he wrote in his book is that when your brain is receiving, when they are diseased cells, for instance, cancer cells, the cells themselves transmit information to the brain, and if there are enough diseased cells, they produce a sense of doom inside your body. And so not only are you not feeling good, but it gives you a sense that something wrong is going on, and that's why people have this sense or intuition, quote unquote, that something is going wrong. His solution was, if you can help people from the outside, if you can help people feel better, if you can help people reduce their pain, that can help reduce help their bodies, help them help their immune systems marshal up their forces to fight the disease, in addition to the treatment, of course. Let me get back to that picture, what that slide was saying. So he says, if we can improve people's beliefs, if we can improve people's expectation, help them feel that they can recover, help them desire that recovery, that will help in turn release the good hormones and help minimize the bad hormones like CCCK. And here's the book that he had. For goodness sake, why is this thing still here? Sure, I take it you don't have any ideas for me, huh? Okay, alright. Alright, well, I'm just gonna let me see if I can move it to one side. I'm sorry about this, folks. I wish I knew what this thing was. Okay. Alright. Okay. And here's the book called The Anatomy of Hope. And here's what I was trying to say. I think I've gone over that already. William James again says, neural input about the physical condition of our tissues is a primary modulator of our primary emotions. So, in addition to not feeling well, in addition to making our bodies not feel well, things like cancer can amplify, can cause even more pain in the body. And so these are things that doctors really have to look at as well, especially cancer doctors when they're treating their patients. I want to take a look at some of the chemicals that are produced in the body, in the brain specifically, and these are called neurotransmitters or neuromodulators. I'm looking at this because, again, we were showing you the synapses and what is transferred across from one nerve cell to the other. The better and the more effective those neurotransmitters are transmitting information, and the better the brain is in producing them, the better you're going to be feeling. And the more we focus on positive emotions, and the more we think better, the more we are more accurate in our thinking, the easier it is for our body to produce those, what's quote unquote, those positive chemicals. Now obviously the negative chemicals are important too, but here's the thing, you don't want too many of them, because that begins to shut things down. And here's some quick examples. Attention, for instance. When the mind is focused, your brain releases acetylcholine. Lots of it is tied to senility. When the brain, dopamine is a very popular chemical that you've probably all heard about from Parkinson's disease. When the brain expects a happy outcome, it releases dopamine, which is a regulator of mood, self-esteem, attentiveness, and memory. Now check this out. An 80-year-old has a fifth that of a 20-year-old on average. And again, that is on average. There are things you can do, the nutritional supplements that we now have, and foods you can eat, activities that you can perform, that will significantly change the statistic. And so it's not, you don't want to just accept your fate as, oh, I'm getting old and everything has to shut down. No, 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 no. That is just not right. That would be a mistake for you to do that. There are things that you can do. Again, we're going to show you some of them. Okay, acetylcholine. I mentioned some other chemicals here and there that are produced in the brain. Endorphins are a really important aspect. They are right here, very important. And then GABA too is very important. If your brain can produce enough of these chemicals in the right balance, you will begin to feel good and feel well. We cannot complete the study of the chemicals that affect the brain if we do not talk about the sex hormones, the steroid hormones. Estradiol specifically, from what I understand, is extremely important, not just as an antioxidant. It is a very powerful antioxidant. Some people say it's 1,000 times more powerful than vitamin C and vitamin E combined. But not only that, but it helps in the transmission of nerve impulses from one nerve cell to the other. Very, very important. Some people suspect that the reason more ladies have Alzheimer's than men do is because ladies have less amounts of estradiol in their brains than men do, and the reason men have better amounts of estradiol is that they are able to convert testosterone, which they have a lot more of. Yay! But men are able to convert more of their testosterone into estradiol, and that is why there is a higher statistic among women of neurodegenerative conditions than there are among men. However, the good news is that when it comes to strokes, women recover a lot faster than men do, primarily because women have a lot more connections in their brains, and so they are able to reform a lot more connections to compensate for the damage that has been done in the certain parts of the brain. I'm just finish up with progesterone. Progesterone, for instance, Jackie Harvey, I'm going to show you a picture later on in the presentation, but Jackie Harvey did an excellent presentation on male hormonal balance and female hormonal balance. You've got to get those webinars. Amazing job. The recordings are available, but what she told me that I had never heard before, or what she mentioned in the webinar, was that the brain has more progesterone receptors than the uterus or the ovaries do. And so progesterone also exerts an effect on brain cells, and from what I understand, it has a slowing down effect on nerve impulses. Okay, but I just mentioned that estradiol is good because it helps to increase nerve transmission. So why is progesterone a good thing? Well, again, it all comes back to the balance thing. The more balance you have in your body, well, we're after balance. We're not after too much of anything of one or the other. And so when there's balance, when there's enough of estradiol and enough of progesterone, your brain works well. And mind you, all men and women have all three of these hormones. The key is to get them in balance. Why am I mentioning this? Well, of course, like I mentioned, testosterone, these sex hormones exert a very, very strong influence on the body, on the brain. But here's the thing. What they found out is that there's an inverse relationship between cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and testosterone. The more testosterone there is, the more cortisol is in the body, which is not good, the less testosterone there is in the body. And the more testosterone, the less cortisol. And so some researchers say, well, let's pump people with testosterone so that they can overcome the effects of stress. Maybe that's not a good idea. The key is to enable your body to do that. When you start messing with nature, when you start fidgeting around and mucking around with what the body does, and in some cases, in many cases you actually do, especially, I mean, a lady who has hysterectomy and has had her ovaries removed, obviously we have no choice than to supply those up from the outside. But we're talking about, even then, the goal is still to aim at improving the body's ability to deal and to control and to regulate itself. Use modern medicine, yes, but also do not neglect the potential of the human body to do what it was made to do. Very, very, very important. I wish I could get rid of these two arrows. Alright, so what should you do? And we've talked about what doctors should do. We've kind of like mentioned about what doctors should do, but really in the final analysis it's up to you. It's what you do with your body on a day-to-day basis. Your doctor is not going to be with you 24 hours a day. You're not always going to have to use medication. You've got to become intelligent about what to do and how to use your body, how to treat your body. And I like to divide these action steps into general principles and into specific principles. The generalities obviously are everything from your thoughts, your thinking, your relationships, and might as well just show you the slide. The 7 laws of life. The words we speak, believe it or not, can affect brain function, can affect our moods, can affect our emotions. They're actually research, and I'm not going to spend too much time here. I did a presentation on this, but there's actually research that shows that if you give people a list of words, this was bizarre. Just having people read words, for instance, that have to do with being old, or that infer or suggest elderliness. I mean, even young people, having them read, and have them not know what they're doing. But these are all volunteers and research subjects, and they have them read things to do with being old. They found out that these same people, when they went out, they began to walk more slowly. They began to respond less quickly. They were acting old. They found out that when people were given words, list of words that dealt with anger or hate, or in some cases death, they found out that they could significantly change their responses. They could significantly change their reactions and emotions. Okay. Someone says the arrows bother me more than others. Okay, I will try to ignore them. But those words can significantly affect your brain biochemistry. Huge amount of stuff done on that, and Mark Waldman did a couple of good presentations about that himself. And that's me. I did a presentation on words and on how they affect your health. The words we speak and hear influence our patterns of thought, emotions, and behaviors. You do not want to just neglect that point. Very, very, very important. We're going to have Bernie Siegel come back, and he's going to do a 2-day seminar in May. This is outside of our regular seminars. He's going to be doing it over the weekend. Okay. He's going to be doing these webinars over the weekend, and he's going to be showing, working with people one-on-one, showing pictures, having people sending pictures of their drawings, and he's going to work with them, showing them how to deal with their emotions, especially with cancer patients, because that's where he got his work, and that's when he started doing his for the past 30 years he's been working with cancer patients, and he has a lot of experience when it comes to helping people overcome their negative emotions, their negative baggage, and turning their lives around. I know of no better person to help us do that. Okay, there's Dr. Koenig, and his picture has disappeared. Anyway, crazy things are happening tonight. When it comes to beliefs, and that's the slide I wanted to show you real quick. Right here, the beliefs we hold dear will, in the final analysis, affect our thoughts and our emotions as well on a long-term basis. And we don't really need to think too much about that to know that is true. Well, he has done a lot of research with regards to patients in the latter years, terminal patients, just sick patients, and he has been able to show how your beliefs, whether your religious beliefs or just really what you believe about yourself and about life and about the universe, your creator, whatever religion it is, can significantly affect your thoughts, your willpower, your desires. And he is beginning to show and teach doctors especially how to work with their patients in helping them develop what I mentioned, the will to win, to overcome their disease and their disorders. Because in the final analysis, isn't that what we doctors want? We want our patients to get better. We don't want them to stay in the hospital indefinitely, do we? Well, I hope not. And so, if we can help people from the inside out, then our medication, our surgery, our treatment will work so much better. All right. Again, I'm throwing so many things out at you, but I hope some of these will stick. These slides again will be available for members afterwards. Robert Waldman is, according to Time magazine, he and his partner Andrew Newberg, MD, are the 2 top researchers in the world in the field of spirituality and the brain. and he has done a couple of webinars for us in that field. Fantastic webinars, fantastic information, and we hope we're going to get him back to talk about these some more. The key, we're not just trying to sell recordings to you folks. There's only so much a person can do in one presentation. We're talking about making a fundamental shift in your behaviors, in your thought patterns, and really in the final analysis, the slower route you will find out will end up being the most effective when we begin to have information that helps us to think in a more effective way and helps us to act and use words in a more effective way. We will begin to find out that the recovery that we experience will be a lot more permanent. The quick fixes are just that. They are quick fixes which soon leave. But when we begin the process of re-education and retraining, we will find out that those answers, our body will respond in kind, and it will stay that way. So I really want to encourage you to take advantage of these tools. All right, let's talk about nutrition. This is I love this quote. I love this quote. It says this: as knowledge with regard to the effects of food upon man increases, it is more than conceivable that the races that first avail themselves of the new values of nutrition may decrease the handicaps of disease, lengthen their lives, and so become leaders of the future. I like that. And I mean, the last part may seem to people like, oh well, who wants to be a leader? You don't want to boss people around. Well, the fact is, people all over the world are looking for answers. They are looking for people to show them what can help them, and we have to take the responsibility. I like the the quote in the Spider-Man movie. It says that with great power comes great responsibility. Well, information, knowledge is power, and I have to tell you, we are exposed to so much more knowledge in the Western world, and I think it's our responsibility to be able to take this information to people who are less privileged to have access to this information. And that's one of the reasons why we make these webinars, most of these webinars, or many of these webinars, free, because we know that people in developed countries and other parts of the world have no way of paying us, have no way of having access to these things, and so we try to make this, we see it as our responsibility to help to bring this information out. Alright, so we're talking about nutrition. Well, specifically nutrition in the brain. Let's talk about nutrition in the brain, because that's what we're talking about. That's what we need. That's what helps to produce good thoughts and good emotions. And Dr. Owens did a great presentation on nutrition and the brain. And I just want to touch on a few things when it comes to the brain. The top brain vitamins: vitamin B6, B12, and folic acid. Top brain minerals: calcium, magnesium. Those two are very, very important for the electrical transmission of impulses. Zinc is called the smart vitamin, very, very important for brain function. It's also very, very important for immune function. I understand it's the most important mineral for the immune system. It helps the immune system reproduce. It helps the immune system work, the cells of the immune system work together. And the immune system and the brain and the nervous system really have a very, very close relationship. So these vitamins are very important going together. I am going to recommend, when you're talking about brain health, there are two products that I recommend more than any other. One are the omega-3s, and the omega-3s are very important because, one, omega-3s or fatty acids constitute about 60% of the brain's dry weight. Now 80% of the brain is water, so we're talking about that remaining 20%. Now 60% of that 20% is made up of fatty acids. So omega-3s specifically are very important for the structure of the brain. The healthier your brain cells are, or the more omega-3s in your brain, the healthier your brain cells will be. Now, Other than that, there are also a combination of specific brain nutrients that work in several different aspects, extremely important. And there's one that I've specifically used. Is called NeuroBright, and it's from a company called RBC, Royal Body Care. It's a little expensive, but I tell you, when I use it, it works like amazingly. It helps you help me sleep well, and when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with a bang. So it doesn't just give you a calming effect, but it also gets you. It gets. Well, how can I explain it other than it makes your brain a lot more functional. And one of the reasons why I decided to take this brain food, this proprietary blend, is because I had read a book by Dr. Daniel Amen, and he is one of the top brain researchers in this world, really. And he had listed like 10 different nutritional things that the brain needs, and the most important one was ginkgo biloba. He said the brains he has looked at, because he studies brains through special techniques, and he's able to see brains in their live form while the patient is functioning, and he's able to. And what he has said is that the healthiest brains, the most beautiful brains, are the brains that have been on ginkgo biloba. And that is, I think, is Asia's number 2 herb after Ganoderma lucidum, the Orient specifically. And of the 10 nutrients that he mentioned, I would say at least 7 are inside that proprietary blend of NeuroBright. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, bang, I need this. This is really good stuff. And I was not disappointed. So my top 2 brain supplements would be the omega-3s, and of course NeuroBright, and of course you cannot go without as a very good anti-inflammatory. I would also recommend arginine, for instance. L-arginine helps to increase brain blood flow. Excuse me. Speaking about L-arginine, I know it looks terrible. It also tastes terrible as well, but I think it works well. Arginine helps increase blood flow, not just to the brain, but to the heart and to all other parts of the body. It's a very, very, it actually has a Nobel Prize behind it, and we've had people do presentations on it for us. The people we associate with is another point that a growing body of research is beginning to show just how important our close relationships especially are. There's in Stanford University, there's actually a center for the study of social relationships and health, and the man who heads that is a doctor by the name of David Spiegel. What he found out, well, actually he stumbled upon this. Actually, he went into it out of anger. From what I understand, he went into it to disprove what Bernie Siegel was talking about, because lots of people had kind of like mistaken him for Bernie Siegel. I mean, his last name is Spiegel, Bernie's is Siegel, and so they were all asking him questions after reading Bernie Siegel's book, thinking that he was Bernie Siegel. And so he was really upset because he is a hardcore scientific man. He doesn't believe in all that woo-woo, wishy-washy, lovey-feely stuff. He believes in hardcore data. You know what I mean? Anyway, he I think he was also a cancer researcher. Anyway, so finally he's decided he was going to prove people like Bernie Siegel wrong once and for all. And so what he did is that he went into he created a study and an experiment with people, women with breast cancer, divided them into 2 groups. One group had great social support. They met together, they talked about their problems. You know how women are, they love to talk about different things. Uh-oh, I better watch myself. The other group had to do with, well, these women just had the regular treatment. I mean, both groups had regular treatment, but the group B did not have the social support. They weren't encouraged to have to meet in groups. Well, I think the study lasted about 6 months. Within 6 months, I think the difference was striking. They found out that people in Group A who had all the social support did phenomenally better than the people in Group B. And so he has kind of turned the corner, so to speak. So he believes now. He really believes. Anyway, we all have a need for social connection, and we talked about this in the study, stress from strength to strength. Tommy wants to know who I'm talking about. His name is David Spiegel, MD, and he's from the Stanford University. Spiegel is Spiegel. Here's an interesting book that I saw that I found was fascinating. People study on loneliness, not just people who are alone, but people who actually have the sense of loneliness. One of the things that were highlighted is that people who have extended feelings of loneliness, they studied their cells, and they looked at their DNA, and their DNA, they found significant damage to the DNA amongst the people who feel lonely. You cannot get beyond it. We are social creatures and we need social connections. The sort of work you do, again, we talked about that. I'm just going to mention Viktor Frankl, who is a Holocaust survivor, and he found out that the people who survived, the people who did better, the people who endured till the end of the war, were those who had hopes, who had dreams, who wanted to see their families, or they wanted to continue their practice. They had a reason to live, so to speak. The people who did not survive simply did not. Let's talk about specifics, and I kind of mentioned specifics already, but information is still the key, whether it's the general principles or specifics. When we know, when we are informed, we can cope more effectively. When we are in the dark, when we are ignorant, that on its own puts a stress upon our emotions. Just not knowing, try that one day. Go to a place you're not familiar with and turn off all the lights at night. You're going to be stressed. You're going to feel like you might start imagining things of people attacking you one way or the other. I'm going to skip this, but this is a really good quote again. What Gordon is trying to say is he's trying to say that it's important for us to think for ourselves, and it's important for us to study for ourselves, because it's when we study, it's when we exert our thinking, our own God-given right to reason out things, to think and form our own opinions. That's when we become less subject to the TV media demagogues, and we are able to have better control over our life. And so the key to taming the dragon, so to speak, the key to minimizing the effects of negative emotions, is by having a solid core, being able to have be strong mentally. That's why we talk about building strength, having a solid day-to-day feeling of strong self-esteem, feeling that you are worth something, feeling that you can do something well. And that brings again back to that work that you are involved in. If you are involved in a career or a job that is using your gifts, is using your talents well, you will have that sense of strength, you will have that sense of esteem, and you will have that sense of growth. Because what we know is that when people are involved in things they love doing, they want to study more about it, they're going to invest more in it, they're going to be around people who love it as well. And so that in itself helps to build that strength. When people are involved in jobs or careers that they don't like, and they're not interested in, they are already way behind the 8 ball. They are living a life, and not just living a life, but their bodies, their cells will be more they'll fall more prey more easily to disease, germs, viruses, catastrophe, stresses. They will just be they will succumb a lot more readily if they are living lives that are unsatisfactory. So we cannot overemphasize the importance of that day-to-day sense of pride, that day-to-day sense of esteem, that day-to-day sense that you are connected and that you feel that your life is worth something. Because when going back to this picture, your brain is what processes all this different information and the input from outside and from inside. If you have a sense of dissatisfaction, your ability to perceive, your ability to process information becomes thwarted. You begin to, it's like how they say your mind becomes set in a more negative way, and so you begin to see things in the wrong light. That translates to every cell in your body and produces really nasty stuff in the final analysis. And of course, the most important thing that we're talking about is stress. So the key then is to strengthen your brain, to strengthen what goes on inside you so that you can process things in a better light. And I've just kind of listed a couple of things here. We have a few more slides to go, but hope you guys are hanging in there. I know we've lost a few people, but just hang in there. We're soon going to come to the end. All these things that I've mentioned really help to strengthen your brain cells, strengthen your thoughts, and help to produce better emotions as opposed to negative emotions. Kind of like mentioned in nutritional supplementation. Laurie Moore did a wonderful job on gratitude and the health benefits of gratitude and giving. She is actually she was a judge, and now she's an entrepreneur, but she has worked with emotionally fragile children in all kinds of different settings, and she really has a heart to help people. And she has come up, in the presentation she did a lot, she brought up a lot of research that shows how just the giving of gratitude, thanking God, thanking your fellow man, appreciating people, and letting them know all the different things that just letting them know how you appreciate them. They have found that this on its own really helps to give you a happier viewpoint on life. Alright, so we've talked about some Mark Waldman, we mentioned him earlier. What they found out in their research on brains is that the two most important things to help to make the brain healthy, they found let's start with number two, meditation. Just meditating, and obviously there are different philosophies where that is concerned. But just meditating, having those quiet times to think and to blank your brain out, or to whatever you want to do, however you want to meditate. They found that exerts a very healing, empowering influence on the brain. The number one greatest influence on the brain is optimism, having a sense of looking on the brighter side of things, just having a positive outlook, having hopes for the future. Now again, there's no way you're going to have positive hopes for the future if on a day-to-day basis you're not doing things that you enjoy, you're not doing things that demand a challenge from you, that challenge you to use your gifts and talents better. You may have it, but it's just less likely, and so that's why we have to continually emphasize that. When you have that, you're going to be able to better modulate your experiences or your emotions. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation or earlier on that things like anger, anxiety, depression, grief can cause a lot of stress in your body. However, I don't want you to go on to the I don't want to leave you with the wrong impression that sometimes these are not appropriate. because they are. I mean, we are human beings. We have things, stuff happens, and the right response will help. If it's a time for grief, well, by all means, grieve. Do not shut yourself down. Do not deny the grief that you're feeling. Reach out for help. Talk about your problems. Talk about those issues. Do not say it's okay and you don't want to talk about it to other people. And I think a lot of people have unfortunately thought that they were not supposed to grieve, and in so doing have brought upon themselves diseases, including cancer, because they shut things down. And Bernie said this. He said, people who always smile, who never tell anyone about their troubles, and who neglect their own needs are the ones who are most likely to fall ill. And he also found this out, that the more combative people, the fighters, so to speak, even the nasty cancer patients, those ones who didn't always do what their doctors did, who were always arguing with the nurses, well, they found out that those were the ones who did better, as opposed to the passive, the ones who got along with everybody else, because they were shutting things down, they were hiding things. And so what he's saying is that if you hide things, you're going to send conflicting signals to your brain and also to your immune system. Remember how important that system is. If you send conflicting signals to your immune system is going to shut down, and it's going to provide the opportunity for germs and viruses and cancer cells to resurge and rise up. So it's very important to be true to yourself, to express yourself, but again, in moderation. You don't want to be flying off the handle all the time and sinking into depression. Okay, here's one thing I wanted to really bring up before I end. The key again to strengthening and to modulating your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts and your attitudes is developing a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex, that is the part of the brain that is the most advanced in human beings. That's what separates us from the chimpanzees and the monkeys, for instance, other than of course they are opposable thumbs. But the prefrontal cortex is what they call the executive center. And the people who have well-developed prefrontal cortexes, or is it cortices, well-developed prefrontal are those who have the best control or have the most positive emotions. And what they found out, people like Mark Waldman have found out, is that these people who meditate and people who have an optimistic outlook have the most well-developed prefrontal cortices. Also people who think hard, who read hard, who exercise their brains more and more. This didn't come out well, but this is a book called Judgment. I bring this up because everything in life is interconnected. This book really is more like a business book, and it examines the leaders in top companies who exercise good judgment and how their companies fared as a result of that, and the leaders who exercise bad judgment and how that affected their companies. And one person they bring out more than anybody else is the person whom Business Week calls the manager of the century. Excuse me, the manager of the century. His name is Jack Welch. He was the chairman and CEO of General Electric. We all know about that. That was the company Thomas Edison formed, over a century old. And here's the interesting thing: when Jack took over as CEO, the company was worth about $13 billion. Well, 20 years later, after working with the company, and when he retired, the company was worth in excess of $540 billion. So he must have been doing a couple of things right? And yeah, he had his flaws. He was a hothead in many ways. But here's the thing: judgment his exercise of good judgment in so many key decision areas, and they categorize them into people judgment, strategy judgment, and crisis judgments, was what propelled the company into prominence and made the company so effective. Well, in the same way, our ability to exercise judgment, our ability to develop good judgment, will help our bodies and our brains function better. And let me point to that picture real quick. Here's the picture of the brain again. The prefrontal cortex is just around this area right here. The prefrontal cortex. This area right here is responsible for judgment. Here's a interesting point. Teenagers, although they've got a well-developed brains, the prefrontal cortices are not well developed. They don't mature until they are like 25, which explains a lot of things, right? That's why teenagers do dumb things. Okay, we have to develop a reading habit, ability to read, ability to seek out information for yourself. That of course means that you've got to seek out good quality information. I mean, there's a plethora of information out there. A lot of it is junk. The good quality information that will nourish your brain and nourish your mind, that takes a little bit more digging to do, and that's one of the things that we hope to do. I mean, in our website there's going to be a bibliography section where you can have some great books that cover different areas of health. Daniel Amen is the man I talked about that has looked at more brains than, according to him, any other living person. And he's the one who said ginkgo biloba, people with ginkgo biloba or on ginkgo biloba have the healthiest brains. The other thing he said is that people who are alcoholics and drug addicts have the worst brains. Here's a book he wrote, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. He's a very, very intelligent person, and I love listening to and reading from him. Use the library, folks. Use the library. Oh my goodness, I tell you, I'm amazed at the resource that few people really take advantage of. I feel like I'm in heaven with all the library and the tools that are here where I live. I can call, and any book I need, they can get it for me. It's just amazing. This is such good information and such a great resource that too few people are taking advantage of. Excuse me. All right. Okay. I told you what you should do. Here are some things I really want to point out. These things will damage your ability to think accurately, your ability to think constructively. And then these things are they are bombarding us at every turn, folks. Number one, and this goes to the men especially, stay away from porn. Please stay away from internet porn. This thwarts so many aspects of brain function, and not just brain function, your body. Besides, I mean, when people, okay, someone wants me to put the last slide up. Okay, I will put the last slide up soon. Speaking about porn, oh my goodness, I mean, this has caused so much damage to families, to relationships, to kids. Oh, please stay away from that. It's not just for your own sake, but for your family's sake and the people who love you. Stay away from mindless TV shows. Not much to be said about that. And teenagers, or parents who have teenagers, you got to limit their access to TV. There's a reason it's called the idiot box, and that goes for excessive video games as well. Okay, stay away from excessive alcohol and nicotine and other toxins as well. Okay, someone wanted me to put this up. I'm going to put it up for a quick second. Please write it as quickly as you can. Learning new things is very, very important. They found out that when you learn new things, your brain actually develops new connections, and in some cases produces new brain cells. Alright, moving on. Okay, we mentioned a couple of things. We're kind of repeating ourselves a couple of times, but folks, it's I think it bears repetition. Okay, here's Albert Einstein, the genius. He's talking about study. I love that quote. Let's see what else we have. Leonardo da Vinci, another genius, says iron rusts from disuse, stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. What they're finding out is that people who succumb to people unfortunately who succumb to degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease and others, they found out that they are not, well, let's put it this way: such people can be helped more if they are encouraged, if they get them reading, if they get them exercising their brains and exercising their minds. Now, that doesn't solve all the problems, obviously, but that also helps as well. Candace Pert, she PhD, she's a neuropharmacologist, brilliant lady who narrowly missed a Nobel Prize. She's the one who discovered the opiate receptor. Has written a marvelous book called Molecules of Emotions, and shows how these chemicals of emotions, when you have if you have an emotional feeling in your body, it affects every single cell in the body, and the good as well as the bad emotions. And here a couple of things she said. People get cancer by burying their emotions, by denying and repressing them. So we've talked about that. Very important. Forgiveness is very, very important as well. Let's talk about the endocrine system. Robert Greene also did a webinar for us, and he's a brilliant guy too. And speaking about balancing your hormones is very, very important in aging. We've mentioned testosterone, we've mentioned estradiol. These two are key hormones, and they are both reduced in older age, and they seem to feel that reduction is as a result, that's what results in the brain being more subject to damage. Men's hormonal balance, women's hormonal balance. That was an excellent presentation by Jackie Harvey. The recordings are available. We also have to talk about toxins, and the top three I can think about right now are the coffee, sugar, and all that stuff in diet sodas. Those are excitatory neurotoxins. Somehow that doesn't sound right. But anyway, you want to stay away from diet sodas. I'm just going to tell you right now, stay away from diet sodas. You really should stay away from pop altogether, but diet sodas really are worse. Sugar is not too good for the body, and excessive coffee as well. We try to focus on looking at all these different toxins, and we categorize them, and so we have webinars on each of these toxins, and what is out there that you can take to either protect yourself from these toxins or to minimize your exposure to toxins. So coffee, for instance, I've been taking this special coffee now for about 6 years, and this man, I think he's from Malaysia, but he discovered the most powerful herb in the Orient, and what he did is he found a way to mass produce it and put it in the most commonly sold commodity in the world after oil, which happens to be coffee. And so it comes in instant packages, and it's one way to eat your cake and have it. And I tell you, it is such a healthy thing. It has some great antioxidants in it. It also has some polysaccharides and glyconutrients in it, and it has a few other things which really help. I mean, you don't get that spike that coffee gives you. It gives you what this coffee does. It gives you a sustained rise in health. Very, very, very good stuff. I take it every day, and yeah, well, it's not like I'm totally hooked on it, but No, it is not available in health food stores. B, these are one of these things that I sold through direct marketing. The simple truth is, folks, a lot of a lot of these products, there are some really good, a lot of the best products are not really sold through the health food store chains, and one of the reasons is that they need an educational support to help you to educate on them, and these are sold through distributors and all that. If you want to know about getting any of them, I mean, we can connect you to the right distributors to get get them done. Most of them we've had them come speak on our webinars anyway. So you can contact us after the webinar. You can click on the link above my head, and there's I think there's a place where you can contact us, send us an email, and we can get you connected. Can you give me a list of supplements you again, Hank, just send me an email, or Hank, send me an email or send us an email through our website. I'm sorry, I can't remember to take care of them right now. I guess Hank is going to try and recommend some of his products as well. All right, well, that's good. We would like to see what are the best things that are out there. Okay, sugars and cell-to-cell communication. Yes, I know about sugars and cell-to-cell communication. I taught about that for years. I was actually on the Speakers Bureau. Okay, what about people? Questions? Just send in your questions. Let's know. What about people who enjoy being alone and do not feel depressed when they have those alone times? That's a good point. What I mentioned was that is the feeling of loneliness. It's one thing to be alone. It's another thing entirely to have the feeling of loneliness. And well, there are people who are just introverts. They're reticent, and they have a pretty good life. Now, the key, of course, is that I still believe that such people should have some very close relationships, and such people should be involved in things or work that they enjoy doing, because I think those you can't compromise on those two. All right, I'm gonna leave the floor open for more questions. Someone says the slides are disappearing too soon. Okay, well, if there's any slide you want me to go back to, just let me know and I'll get it back up for you. Alright, what do we have here? Does a Ganoderma drink have sugar in it? Yes, it does. I think it has a small amount of sugar or sweetener. But I tell you, the benefits far outweigh the other things that there. It's kind of like, I mean, some of these, many of these fruits drinks or this drinks companies that are out there, they have to, by law, they have to put some certain kinds of preservatives in them to prevent bacterial proliferation. And those preservatives, those chemicals, can be injurious to health if in high amounts. But I understand that many of these fruit drink companies, they have them at lower than what is the recommended amount. Obviously, the argument would be that, well, that's as long as you're putting bad stuff in your body, you are what's the word? It's not good. But I mean, how are you going to do it? It's one or the other. I understand some companies have come up with some really great preservatives that have no side effects to the body. All right. Hello, we are in storm mode here in Canada, and the connection keeps going off, so I missed how and where one can get Ganoderma. Again, you're going to have to email us directly, and we will connect you with people who can sell it. Okay, thank you so much for an excellent presentation. Well, thank you. I almost lost my voice here, I tell you. This is hard work talking. My goodness. Some people make it look so easy. I don't know how they do it, I tell you. You've had some tremendous quotes this evening. As a teacher, I would very much like to be able to give them to my students and parents from time to time. How could I get the ones I liked from you? Okay, well, like I said, these are free for members, and well, well, just you send me an email. Okay, send me an email and we can get that taken care of. All right, any more questions? We have some pretty good webinars coming up. Next Thursday is Dr. Perry Peretz. Fascinating guy. That's right, Cora. Cora, hello, Dr. David. What a great presentation. You made a great case for my proposed presentation on living fully after loss. I will send you my proposal soon. Cora, listen, I was planning on calling you because I'm like, I haven't heard back from you. So yes, send me your proposal and let's talk. And folks, if you know of other people who can help us in achieving our goal of bringing wisdom and wellness to the world, please send them to us. There's no one out there who is doing what we're doing, and I mean, from the responses we've been getting from people who have attended our webinars, there's a tremendous need for this all over the world. So please help us so we can help other people around the world. Recommend speakers and teachers out there, and if possible, connect them to us so we can get the word out. Very excellent, encouraging, and uplifting. Thank you for all you do. Well, thank you, Gene. Appreciate that. All right. Are there any more questions? I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Let me leave you with this quote. For Pete's sake. Okay. All right. I love this quote. Let's read this. Talk health. The dreary, never-changing tale of mortal maladies is worn and stale. You cannot charm or interest or please by harping on that minor chord disease. Say you are well, or all is well with you, and God shall hear your words and make them true. Don't you just love that? I do. All right. Very excellent. God bless you, David. Thanks for having the mission to minister to others. All right. Thank you so much, B. Thank you so much, Gene. If there aren't any more questions, I'm going to stop it right here, and we'll call it an evening. And again, you can send us emails by clicking on the link above my head. All right, folks. Good night. Someone says keep it on. Okay, I'm keeping it on. Keep it on. all right, I'll give it a few more seconds. By the way, we have Sunday Bible study classes as well. For those of you who are interested, we're not forcing religion down your throat either. But Dr. Marvin and I have a desire to teach about the Bible and also help people live effective lives by applying the principles in the Bible. So if you're interested, send us an email. The website is thestrengthfromwithin.com. Okay, Evelyn, you gotta let me know. Can I close now? Evelyn, go ahead and type in and let me know if I can close the webinar for the evening, because you are holding us up. Evelyn. Okay, all right, folks, have a good night.